Grandmaster Nightfalls are back, and with it we've got a bunch of new rewards and loot to grind in Season of the Lost. This guide is going to be ideal for new or returning players aspiring to grab that shiny Conqueror Seal. It'll also be great for those who are maybe looking to dip their toes into Grandmasters for the first time, as well as long-time players who want an all-in-one summary of the best mods and gear to load up with for a successful Grandmaster run this season. Remember, if you're a new or a returning viewer and don't want to miss future builds and guides here on the channel and you aren't subscribed already, then please do so. As you can see, over 87% of viewers here haven't done the deed, so what are you waiting for? Now is that time. This season, all previous Adept Nightfall rewards are going to be on the table, with 2 weapons available on any given week. On top of that, we've also got the Hothead rocket launcher and the Comedian shotgun receiving the Adept treatment, with the Hothead being a top pick to grind for as it has a number of spicy rolls. These Adept weapons will allow you to place Adept mods on them as well as boosting all stats by +2 when fully masterworked. These are arguably some of the best weapons in the game, and that's why I'm here to help you get yours with some quick builds and handy tips to make the challenging Grandmasters a walk in the park whilst getting serenaded by Lord Shax. So first, let's start with a basic mod setup that will help carry you through all Grandmasters before then looking at some more advanced options to use, finishing off with weapon choices, exotics and subclass loadouts to take you into GMs. As ever, for high level endgame content and especially in Grandmasters where you are power delta capped and underleveled, survivability is key, and there's no better basic build option to help with this than the Taking Charge paired with Protective Light. More often than not, there'll be orbs of power everywhere from either masterworked weapon final blows or supers from your fire team. Collecting these orbs will allow you to become charged with light, and with Protective Light equipped you'll get a huge damage reduction from incoming damage when your shields break. You can boost the timer of this being active by using both supercharged and charged up to get a 5x stack of charged with light. This will leave you with one free combat style mod slot where high energy fire is going to be your best bet, giving you a damage boost when charged with light too. It's an old faithful setup that I'll swear by until it gets inevitably nerfed. The next must have mod for GMs is from the seasonal artifact with Particle Deconstruction. Not only does it pair well with the Unstoppable Fusion mod, but it's going to help you melt all types of adds throughout. Now controversially, I'm not going to be recommending using it with any actual fusion rifle, but more so with any linear fusion rifle or exotic heavy fusion rifle as well. It'll give not just you, but any of your fire team members up to a 40% buff to fusion or linear fusion rifle damage. As long as one person is rocking the mod in your fire team, you'll be fine. The last set of must-have mods will be the Concussive Dampener and Resist mods on your chest armour. These give you damage resistance to certain incoming damage types, so make sure you equip them to suit the specific Nightfall burns and enemies. Don't forget that stasis damage is a thing too this season, so make sure you've got some stasis affinity armour in your inventory. Holster mods can also work well and are another new addition this season. I'd recommend using them for your heavy weapon or slower loading special weapons as required. Now if you want some more advanced mod options, I'd look at leaning into an elemental well setup. And if you can convince your teammates to run some too, I know for a fact that a confident team running through encounters can and will be spamming abilities left, right and centre, destroying all enemies with some of these powerful elemental well combinations. Elemental armaments is probably going to be your best bet to create them consistently, unless you're running a very grenade or melee centric build where the ordnance or melee wellmaker mods will work wonders. Font of Might is flat out the best neutral game damage buff available, up at 25%, and as soon as the Seeking Wells mod can be purchased, all elemental wells will track to you or nearby allies, making well builds even more accessible. The combination of Reaping Wellmaker and Well of Tenacity are a top tier setup regardless of your subclass, as it'll grant you a 10% damage resistance when it's active after collecting a Void Well. Finally, Elemental Time Dilation will enhance the duration of these buffs and in my opinion is one of the best mods out there right now. Unfortunately, Warmind cells are a thing of the past, so I won't be recommending any here today, but if you still enjoy them, fill your boots. So that's the mod setup I think you'll be needing, but what about weapons? Well, before we get into them, why not hit the subscribe button if you're new here? I cover tons of builds and guides aimed at making the endgame of Destiny 2 accessible for everyone so that you too can get that loot. Liking this video really does help me out too and is always appreciated. Why not join our community Discord server as well? The links are down in the description. Fortunately, there's a ton of choice weapons wise this season and none of them involve anarchy. Well, maybe just a little. Aside from this infamous exotic being but a glimpse of its former self, there's two more exotics that have steamed to the top spot this season and are a must have for any Grandmaster. Aga's Scepter is one of the best exotics out there right now, with its freezing capabilities being S tier for stopping any enemy in their tracks with or without the catalyst. One final blow will freeze groups of enemies in place, making them easy to clean up for you and your fire team. And with the catalyst in place, you can burn your super away to do increased damage and directly freeze targets on sustained impact with it. This alone kind of makes it an anti-champion weapon also, and is definitely an option to use within a fire team. Vex Mythoclast though is on another level this season. Not only did it receive the single biggest set of buffs ever seen to any weapon in the history of Destiny, but it also works with the particle deconstruction and unstoppable fusion mods. It's basically the one-stop shop for endgame content, so if you've got it, make sure you're using it. Obviously, champions are the order of the day in Grandmasters, and to be honest there's limited options in the artifact this season, especially anti-barrier wise, so let's start there. Auto rifles are the only option unfortunately, so I'd recommend high impact ones that have good range to combat barrier champions safely at distance. Chrysaor, Mellow and False Promises are excellent options here, but honestly your favourite auto rifle will do just fine. Overload though is where it's at with the Overload bow mod, and there's tons of great choices. Point of the Stag is my favourite arc bow available from the kiosk in the tower, especially as it comes with Vorpal weapon, and Imperial Needle from the Season of the Chosen is an excellent void option. If you've got the Solar Bow Tyranny of Heaven from the last Witch raid, it'll do bits, and you can't go wrong with the Biting Winds Kinetic Bow from Europa. All have excellent roll options too, so go hunt down some to be GM ready. Unstoppable wise, we've got pulse rifles, which I'm not really going to cover, so just go with what you enjoy using to be honest. However, there's the Unstoppable Fusion mod which will be a must have. I'm not going to specifically recommend using any normal special fusion rifles because the range you need to use them in just won't work in Grandmasters, as you'll just get f***ed up. But linear fusion rifles 100% do and will have you hitting top bins every time. Threaded Needle and Reed Regret are the best linear fusion rifles in the game right now, with Vorpal weapon being an ideal roll option on both. There's alternative rolls you can chase and or max them out with god rolls, but honestly they're not 100% required as long as you have Vorpal weapon. Obviously, heavy hitting exotics like Sleeper Simulant and 1000 Voices are perfect choices here too, and even Telesto or Jotun can work for the memers out there as well. I never ever thought I'd be recommending Jotun for Grandmasters, but here we are. Finally, we're going to look at the best subclass and exotic armour options for each class. Titans with the Ursa Furiosa exotics are pretty much a bare essential when it comes to tackling Grandmaster content. When paired with the Sentinel Code of the Commander, you can block incoming damage and protect your teammates, whilst providing them with the Weapons of Light damage buff. Even though these got a nerf to limit super regen, you'll still likely get back-to-back supers in a fire team, especially if two Titans are using them. Precious Scars had a huge buff this season too, and can definitely come in clutch to revive teammates or offer that healing burst on matching elemental weapon final blows. Warlocks will want the Old Faithful Well of Radiance combined with Phoenix Protocol. Again, this exotic was subject to a nerf in its super regen, but you can still get infinite rifts and grenades thanks to Benevolent Dawn. Boots of the Assembler combined with any subclass are also a great neutral subclass option, allowing you to send healing orbs to your teammates. There's also the Stag, which is immense this season, and I'll be recommending this in my Stasis build setup shortly. Looking at the best hunter options, Omnioculus with bottom tree tether will just add to your fireteam's ability to survive, and you can't go wrong with the Celestial Nighthawk Golden Guns either to offer top level DPS. Stasis is still really strong in PvE content and is always massively underrated. A Revenant Hunter using Star Eater scales will absolutely destroy large areas of enemies and is one of my favourite builds to use. Shadebinder Warlocks using the Stag exotic helmet along with the Bleak Watcher turrets are just going to be amazing at controlling an area of enemies as well. Behemoths don't have a ton of usability in PvE, but even utilising their ability to create mass cover through Grey Seal grenades and the Howl of the Storm can do bits. Any of the harvest aspects will be worth using for a base aspect setup across all classes, as they fit in with a ton of fragments to boost survivability. A base fragment setup for any stasis build for me would include the Whisper of Torment for increased grenade energy when taking damage, the Whisper of Conduction to allow stasis shards to track to you, and with the Whisper of Rhyme equipped, these will grant an overshield for a brief amount of time too. Whisper of Impetus is top tier, especially on Revenant Hunters, for reloading weapons and boosting handling for a short time on melee hits. Whisper of Chains will work instead to grant a damage reduction when near friendly stasis crystals or frozen enemies. With the introduction of stasis weapons to this season, some of these will work perfectly, especially Headstone, which can freeze enemies nearby and also grant you stasis subclass benefits. Not to mention, if you're running stasis in a fire team, you need to consider using the Focusing Lens mod from the seasonal artifact to boost your light ability damage output, which does work whilst inside a well of radiance. At the end of the day, it's all about just getting the job done in Grandmaster Nightfalls. The champion mods do leave a lot to be desired this season, but there's a ton you can do with your weapons and abilities to counteract this, especially with the fusion rifle meta that we're in. I hope this guide inspires some build options for you and your fire team on the way to snagging some sweet Adept loot. Let me know what you'll be using down in the comments. Remember to subscribe if you're new, like the video and share it with your friends. I've been Truds, this is your Grandmaster build guide, thank you very much for watching and I hope to see you next time.